something inside of it. The little bird on my shoulder was saying, you know, you need to escape today, and don't take any notice of this nonsense. So and that's what I was brought up into, you know, a negative environment. And so it was never going to work for me, because I was in a garage once. I was there for a long time. I was a grease monkey, and if you don't know what a grease monkey is, a grease monkey is the person who gets all the mucky jobs, and I hated oil on my hands. And I'd just come from a pig farm, and the lads all used to say to me, well, surely it's better than pig shit, and I go, no, it's not. Actually, it's not, because if you do something you love, then that's fine. If you do something you hate, you know, and oil and pig shit was completely two different things. I loved the pigs, and I didn't like the maintenance of the engine. So we used to sit on the bench every day. We used to sit in a long line on the bench eating our sandwiches with oily hands, and they always used to say, Neville, this is the first week I was there. The eagle shits on a Friday, and you'll see the eagle swooping in and shitting and then going off. And I was 16 up then. I was on about my 5th job by then, and I couldn't understand what they were talking about. And then Friday came, and we was all sitting on the bench, and the boss walked in with pay packets, and that was it. And I thought, what the hell am I in? You know, talking bollocks every day, sitting on a bench. Is this going to be my life? And unfortunately, it was for the next about 10 jobs. It was, but they didn't seem to get any better, and I seemed to get worse. Negative attitude, etc., etc. And then I became self-employed. And why would I want to have an hour's lunch break when I could get home an hour earlier, or get paid for an extra hour, because it was my time. Every minute was my time. And so I went from working for what I would class as idiots, for those 17 jobs, or people who work for them, being in that environment. I went from working for idiots to working for a madman. And this madman was me, because every second counted. I hadn't got any money. I didn't know. I hadn't got any education. I didn't know what to do, how to do it, and I had to rapidly learn. So my 8-hour day on a normal job, which I'd work about 4 hours out of that day, became like a 24-hour obsession into education and working and getting the money to survive. So
and what business was this, Neville?
That was the business I set up for 37 pence, and we hadn't got any money, and I was on the dole for 3 months because I'd been fired, and I should have been fired, because when you hate your job, there's no worry about staying there, because you're going to be fired anyway, because it comes out in your nature. It does, if you hate something, and you can't help it. So therefore I hated my job. It was a job that I was waiting for the next war, and which was driving me mad, and again I couldn't stand it. So I was on the dole for 3 months. I needed another £2 to feed my wife Marilyn and our baby, who's 3 years old then. This was 1973, coming into 1974 it was. We'd been through the winter of 73, 74 in a 10-foot caravan. And anybody who knows what a 10-foot caravan's like, and in the 60s, in those days, they never had insulation like they do now. So we used to boast to people when they said, "Hey, you're getting on in the caravan?" We used to boast to them, "Oh, well, it's not too bad. In fact, we've got running water." And they go, "Did you plumb it in yourself?" "I didn't know you was a plumber." And go, "No, it's the condensation running down the walls every morning when we get up." So life was shit. I'd been from a very bad attitude to a life of shit. And so, my attitude had to change. And I was begging for another £2 to feed them. And it was like, they said, well, you've got one baby, to get another £2, you need to have another. And I said, I can't believe what you're saying. I can't afford to feed the one that I've got, let alone have another. Now, if I took notice of them, which that was a burning bridges day for me. That was a change of life, because if I'd have took notice of them, there'd have been 3 generations on the dole by now. Instead of me paying £50 million over my lifetime in tax into the system. And so I told them where they could stick their. I was hot-headed, I was 24. I knew everything, I did, and knew nothing. But I told them where they could stick their dole money, and I shot myself in the foot because I didn't get any that week. And that afternoon, I said, I went down to the local haberdashery and bought a metre of scrim, and because a window cleaner had told me that's what they use for cleaning windows. So I went and so that was my first acquisition as managing director of this company. First acquisition, 37 pence. The second was I learned how to leverage. I went and knocked on my dad. Well, I didn't knock on my dad's door. I went to see my dad, and he'd got a ladder. And I said, Dad, can I borrow your ladder? So I leveraged his ladder because he didn't use it all the time. And there we are. So I started window cleaning the next day, and because I've got ADHD and I'm like a bloodhound, I think. I'll go one direction, then another, and so therefore when people ask me, oh Barry, have you got a book? Just under the desk there's a book. Yeah, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Promoting my book. Yeah, mind don't trip over the wires, mate. So the title of my book, the answer is yes. Now what is the question? See, I had to look at it even though I wrote it. So and I'm dyslexic as well, so I just want to make sure that anyway. So the answer is yes. Now what is the question came from about the 3rd week of being a window cleaner, because people used to ask me, while you're here, can you do another job? And a woman come out the house, looked at the lad and said, Neville, while you're here, can you? And I said, yes I can, no problem. And she says, I've not even asked a question yet. I said, I'll do anything you want me to do, as long it is not immoral or illegal, because if it was immoral or illegal, my mother would have beat me. So, and she used to say, if you do anything wrong, boy, Lord Jesus will punish you. That's after I've punished you. So there we are. That's the title of the book, and that's the story of where it came from. And so I wasn't window cleaning very long. It was about the same as the other 17 jobs I had. It was one of those things, and I moved on and on and on and on. But I do say in my book, there's a lot of lessons, because most people have a window cleaning round as a part-time job, cash, hand job. This was my business. This was what we was going to do, and so therefore I didn't want a window cleaning round, because a window cleaning round is 20 houses a day, for instance, 5 days a week, a couple of 100 houses a week or a fortnight you have to have if it's a fortnightly round, and there's a ceiling to the amount of money you can get. You know exactly what you're going to get. So that's just like a job. I wanted to be rich. I'd got nothing. We're living in a caravan. We would have dandelion soup, and stuff. It's amazing what you can do when you've got no money. So therefore we wanted to be secure. We wanted to be rich. And I didn't think we would ever be, because I hadn't got any skills. I didn't think I had any skills. And what would a boy who couldn't read and write, couldn't spell his name, even like into my 40s, I didn't know where GHT, and then it kept, I don't know if anybody knows anything about dyslexia. On my website, nevillewright.com, on the problem page, I think it's a problem. What is it called, Barry? The problem? Setbacks. On the setbacks page, it's about dyslexia and ADHD. And it shows you, there's a film there I got from YouTube, it shows all the letters, what I see in my eyes, jumping about and falling off the page and stuff like that. So I never knew where to put the letters to make the words, and I could never understand how other people could do it. So I'm off track now. So life today is a lot better than it was 50 years ago, And,
you still have dandelion soup, don't you?
I tell you what, I would like to grow some dandelions in the garden because they make really, really good salads, and yeah, so the vitamins in it as well is really good. So I'm not too proud to make dandelion soup or stinging nettle soup. I know where I come from, and I know if the shit hits the fan, I know I'll survive in the woods.
So I'm really curious, Neville, how you then made the jump from, what seems to be incredibly challenging times, poverty, a hard life, the school of hard knocks. I'm really curious how you then got the break that led to Kiddicare becoming this massive business.
I know, it's incredible, absolutely incredible. And I do a lot of mentoring now for businesses and some individuals, and a lot of individuals I don't mentor because you get these people, they go, I want to be a billionaire. And that's just fine if you are in business and you are on the crest of the wave and you've got something that the whole world wants, you can become a billionaire. But in reality, there's not many people can be. And so I don't think in billions or millions, and I never did, I never have, and it's always been, what do I need today? I need the next pound, the next pound, the next pound, and things like that. So I've done everything in very small increments, and I think it is called the Kaizen method. And I was using the Kaizen method every single day from when I started, and it's just one small improvement at a time. It wasn't one small improvement a day for me. I was too ambitious. It was one small improvement every minute, every second. I must do the best job possible at every given moment. And it's all that kind of thing. I was a painter. Well, what's the point in painting with one hand when you've got two? Have a roller in one hand and a paintbrush in the other. You cut in with one, you roller it, and that's like, leverage yourself, leverage everything, leverage your time, leverage you, leverage what you can do, and leverage the people around you. Because I couldn't read, so I couldn't do, I knew how much to charge, and I knew bill of quantities and all that kind of stuff, but I couldn't actually do it. So Marilyn joined me, and she didn't know she was going to join me for what she was doing. She joined me in those days, make the bill out at the end of the day with a typewriter. But she didn't realise that she was going to have the typewriter in the truck. Well, she knew she was going to have the typewriter in the truck, but she didn't know she was going to be behind the wheel, because we had to get bricks and cement and planks of wood from the builder's merchant. We had to take the rubbish to the rubbish tip, and I couldn't afford to pay somebody to do that, so Marilyn did it. So she had to get a license, and she was the first. She was the first builder, I think, in Peterborough, first girl builder in Peterborough, and truck driver. So, but she used to say to me, I need the money. I need some money to be secure. I don't want to be like my parents, because her parents went bankrupt, and there was, it was a very bad time, and mentally it was a very, very dark time for her, in a family with such a thing happening to her dad going mental from this problem. And so, she had been brought up in a world of Victorian age of children can be seen, but they should not be heard. And if they are heard, a good slapping, I don't know what the difference between a good one and a bad one is, but I suppose a good slapping is that you survive, and a bad slapping is you die. And it's like, that is, so when you've been brought up into that, and then you get married and you have a child, and you can't walk down the street because of nerves and fear that you might see somebody that you can't talk to unless they talk to you first, and you don't know what to say, and it's so there was the upbringing that both of us had was absolutely complementary to each other, because we both had shit childhoods in different ways. My father had been in the war, and he'd come home after 7 years of killing, and he had no hesitation. If I looked at him wrong, he'd beating the shit out of me, until my mother would be calling, shouting and screaming, saying, "Don't hit him anymore, Arthur, you'll kill him." And how, I've got this little, in the book, I've got these a photo. Yeah, look. I mean, how can you hit a child like that?
Oh my God!
But he could not wipe the smile off my face, although he could nearly kill me. And luckily we lived in a bungalow, so I got used to shimmying up the drain pipe onto the roof, onto the chimney stack. Nobody could get me then.
Wow.
So there's a lot of lessons. Yeah, so I had a lot.
Neville,
I forgot the question.
It's getting more and more intriguing how you then made that leap to become where you are just now, because if
I knew there was a question.
Stacked against somebody, it's this. How did you break through that?
Yeah. So if you can live in a 10-foot caravan and survive, then everything else is a bonus. So you keep that as your standard of living. You keep down as a standard of living. You don't live on anything. You're virtually nothing. You put everything back into that business. Everything. The first day I could afford to buy a paintbrush. The second day I could afford to buy a roller. The third day I could afford to buy a scraper. And it was kind of, and then the better jobs I got, the more tools I got, and the more tools I got, the more jobs I could get. Until I got some scaffolding and some planks and extending ladder and a truck, and instead of just a trailer borrowed a trailer off on the back of my car, things like that. And every day putting the money back, because I knew that if I started to take any money out, then it wouldn't work. We wouldn't get rich, and we wouldn't have this security that we both needed and yearned for. And I know now at 72 that this security is in between your two ears, right? But I didn't know then, so therefore every day, one of the greatest things that anybody can do, and most people don't, is if I wanted somebody to help me, I needed, if I wanted to do bigger jobs, I needed people to help me. And so I wasn't afraid to get people to help me, to get labour. I wasn't afraid of that. And to get somebody who knew more than you, or knew more than me. Now, you can get loads and loads of people who know more than you, but will they do what you want to do when you walk away. You know, you have to be there, and you're paying them by the hour, so every minute counts. And so therefore, if you micromanage these people to say, now do this, now do this, now do this, and you've got a group of them, 6, you can get probably 4 or 5 times worth of work out of somebody. So therefore the profit margin goes up. They're not doing any more work than they should do because they're getting paid for every hour. So this is something in the early parts I could organise, I could be with them, and we could get the jobs done a lot quicker. Then obviously they found out, they realised how I was working, then they copy you. So therefore, and when they copy you and they get more efficient, they get more responsibility, and people like responsibility, and people like making decisions, and you give them parameters of decision making. And so therefore, you know, your business expands. And every time, every day, every job we had, if I wanted somebody, needed somebody else, I got somebody. And so therefore our business expanded. It did. And then Marilyn said, well, I can come off the building sites now. It's not that I don't like it, it's that there was so derogatory people were about, oh, have you brought your wife? What does she do? Does she sweep up? You know, no, she can fucking wallpaper better than any man I know, you know, and it quicker, you know. It's like, we used to go in a room and wallpaper a room where you'd cut every single sheet of wallpaper before you started pasting. And, you know, if you got 10 rolls, you'd cut every roll, you would. And then bang, 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 bang. You know, I'd be up the steps doing the top, she'd be down the bottom, you know, and the next, and the next, and the next. And it's like, you know, being a team. And so anyway, she wanted to get an office because it was quite embarrassing, because after 3 years, we was doing work for the local council. And when you got a local council official coming to see the paints, different coloured charts and whatever, and what your plans and all that kind of stuff, and then you take them up into a semi-detached 3-bedroom house, and you go into the box room where your baby's sleeping, and this is your office as well. So, and then you have to, because the baby starts crying, you know, you have to go onto the landing and show them what you're going to do. It gets a bit embarrassing. So she said we ought to have an office. So then when she got an office, which was a terraced house, a 2 up, 2 down terraced house that we bought, she said, well, it's 4 big rooms, I only want 1 desk, so I could sell something. Well, what could we sell? We didn't know anything. Well, we bought a second-hand pram, a second-hand high chair, you know, a second-hand cot, etc. for our first baby. And we knew everything then about second-hand nursery products, and so we started, you know. And with a bit of luck, it wasn't luck, it was dreadful, but it was with a bit of luck, it was as well. But so, and there's another thing, you turn every bad thing into a good thing. So my mother and father had been on holiday in the winter. They'd turned the taps off because they didn't want to have the heating on because it cost money. And Barry, can you shut this door, please? It's getting a bit cold. Thank you. And what happened? He didn't turn the tap off. It was an old tap under the sink. He didn't turn it off, and it burst, and it's and all the ceilings came down. So they had to stop with us for 6 weeks. So they looked after Elaine while we went out with the van collecting all these second-hand prams at night. And then I used to take them home, and he was retired then, and he used to clean them, ready to open this shop. So it started off with second-hand. So we didn't have second-hand for very long because reps started to go by the shop and say, or word of mouth got, so reps come in and sold us new. That's another thing, you've got to take advantage of the opportunities. No point in a rep coming in and saying, oh, I sell new, so oh no, we can't afford that, we only do second-hand. No, come on in, let's move. And you move and move every day. I do say, when you go into your business, say you go into your business at 7 o'clock in the morning and you come out of your business at 7 o'clock at night, that business should have changed Even if it's a tiny bit, that business should have changed in somewhere, physically or in your mind for ideas. It should change, because if it doesn't, you're going backwards and somebody else is stealing your business, and you never know who they are until one day your business closes and there's this, business taking all your business.
That's a great quote. Every day your business can change. Absolutely love that. So this is interesting. So now, because you know what I mean, see if nobody had known what your business ultimately was, the way the story was going, you would expect you to be the owner of B&Q. So I can now see how the transition came. So it started off with we used the equipment, bricks, bin, and then I take it just kind of snowballed from there.
We did, and then the main players was Mothercare. So we admired Mothercare, although we was in a two down terraced house, but we wanted to advance, and we wanted customers to be happy. So people used to come into this little place, and we never had enough stock. And we hadn't got enough money, because what we'd done, we'd made the mistake of buying this house because we're thinking security. You need a house, you need the premises, so you buy the premises. And of course, we put all our money into the premises, and there wasn't enough stock. So we wanted a bigger shop as well. So we sold that shop as a going concern, and we opened one 5 times the size of that in a shopping centre, brand new shopping centre, which we rented. But I'll just rewind a bit. We wasn't making any money in the first year. We was going to sell it, and a mentor, he wasn't a mentor at the time, but he soon became one in that instant. He was a rep. I said to him, his name was Carl Davis, and it was 1978, I believe, and I said, we haven't made any money, and I'm selling this shop. And they used to come in on a Friday. He used to sell us all the pedigree prams from Boots that used to be on display. That's what he told us. But I realised after a while that it was all second-hand ones, what people had rejected and sent back, and he cleaned the wheels. Anyway, the thing was, he was a good salesperson. And he dragged me out that shop, he did, and he told me that he'd seen Marilyn and I working so hard for that year. I mean, I was still doing the building work. We was doing extensions by then, and I was working there on a Saturday and like in the evenings, and he convinced me that we're doing the wrong thing. We're just about there. You've heard of the story about the person who developed a drink called the Six Up and disposed of it because nobody bought it, and yet somebody got the recipe and did it and called it 7 Up and made a fortune. So we were just about. So he said we were just about to make it, and I said. Within that 5 minutes, I was convinced, and I went back in the shop. I said to Marilyn, "We're not selling." Where's Marilyn's shop though? And I'm saying we're not selling, and she said fine, because she didn't want to sell. She had worked for nothing for all that year, and worked for absolutely nothing. And what was it to say that tomorrow would be any better than yesterday? But he told me that I wasn't. It was in a terrace house, and it wasn't displaying anything outside, and I wasn't making it so people could see visual effect. I went across a DIY shop, got a load of hooks, put them in the window, on the outside of the window, hung all types of toys and stuff. So as people come by, they would see what was going on, put prams on the pavement, and then I had my first row with the council because they said you shouldn't put prams on the pavement. And my argument was, well, people can leave the children, and they used to in those days, wheel the pram up, leave the child in the pram. In those days, you could, outside of every shop, there was loads of kids in prams. So my argument was, well, if a customer can do it and leave it there all day, why can't I? And they said, well, and now in Peterborough there's nearly 200 different languages, and lots of people with shops have got all kinds of stuff all spewing over the pavement, and I don't suppose they know how to tell them. So things change in life, and I was arguing. I got a notice from the council to quit doing that, but that's another lesson. Learn when you're in business to be deaf, and carry on. So anyway, we did a sale and lease back. Oh, that's what I was on about. We needed the money to put more stock in, so went to the agent. And I said, we need a bigger shop. And he said, well, no, what you need to do, you need a sale and lease back. We'll buy your shop for £8,000 and you give us £1,000 a year rent. And I thought, well, I'd never heard of that before, sale and lease back. They give me £8,000 and I give them 20 quid for that week. And I thought, this is incredible. So I went and bought £5,000 worth of stock extra, which doubled the stock. And I think I went and bought 3 houses as well to do up. Or it was the opposite way around. I can't remember which, but it was, I bought a load of houses and a load of stock. And of course it boomed then. There was people, talk about Black Friday, it was only terraced house though. You could only get about 20 people in there. And there was queuing outside, so I had to sell it again. I had to sell the business to get a bigger shop, 5 times the size. And we thought we'd be like Mothercare and have a string of shops. And we got to our 3rd shop, and we said, what are we doing this for? That's another lesson. What are we doing? Why are you doing it? We did it because we needed security. We wanted the money, but we're doing it for each other. So we wanted to work together. I know it sounds a bit corny, we want to work together, Anyway, so there, but we did. And 2 heads in the same situation is better than 3, 4, 5 separate. So we sold the other 2 shops as going concerns, and then we got back together in thinking all the time, every minute of every day, with the customers, improving the sales. And what happened? The people who bought the shops didn't want our staff, who I'd trained, and it takes 2 years to become a pramologist, and it's like, wow, they didn't want them. They thought they could do better, and they come knocking on the door, and I go, I can't employ you, because that was part of the deal. And they go, no, we've been told to go, told to leave. They've been sacked. And I go, come on in, I've got a trained team of people.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like, and then 5 heads together is better than 20, and so it goes on. And then we expanded every day we expanded, and there was a warehouse, and every year we would get a new warehouse. We would rent a warehouse at a ridiculously low price and stuff like that, and that's how we did it. So we've had about seven moves, about 7 shops. So it's all in the book though. You can let me know how many shops we had if you read it.
So this is interesting. So
He's read it. Royce.
Royce has read it. I had ordered it because Neil had ordered a copy as well, and I ordered it from Amazon because Amazon are usually brilliant. And it just dawned on me, hang on, that's not been delivered yet. And I emailed Neil.
Did you?
This copy arrived and it hasn't. So for the first time in living memory, Amazon's let us down.
No, you should have ordered it on Amazon from the NW Bookshop. 1899.
The NW bookshop,
Yeah.
course, yeah, your own one, yeah.
Yeah.
So
It should have been here, 24-hour delivery. They're in stock. And the money.
Amazon are great. I mean, Amazon,
Yeah.
it's only a matter of time before Amazon deliver before you order it. So that's only a matter of time.
Yeah, they will, because they'll think, what does he want? They will. I've said this over and over again. There'll be something delivered to you. Oh, a new lawnmower. It's just, I need one of those.
Well, there's a business opportunity. So, Neville, what timeline are we talking about here from the hard times to the reasonable times?
Right. 1982. 1982 became a millionaire on paper. Yeah. So from 1974, yeah, to 1982. So and we moved something like I don't know, 5 or 6 times in that time. We did, and we was renovating a terrace house every 6 weeks, and turning it over. One of the things was we used to put the deposit down, ask for an extended time to pay, say 8 weeks instead of the normal 4. Ask the people if we could go in and renovate the house, because in those days there was loads of houses that people had rented from the war time, so there was unmodernised, and the owners had died and left it to the children. Their children wasn't in Peterborough, they wasn't going to live in them, so therefore we'd renovate them in between putting a deposit down and completing. And usually on the completion, when there used to be a for sale board go up, and so we leveraged their money and their time as well in what we did. So yeah, so I did get in, I slightly got into trouble once because I didn't know the law. So once I had I said to the estate agent, can I have the keys to go and measure up? And my enthusiasm to measuring up was to start work. And so therefore I renovated this bloody house, right? So I made it worth from like 1,250 to like £3,000, and the person and the agent come in and said, what you done? And they go, oh well, you only borrowed the key. And I said, well, I had one cut actually, and I got enthusiastic. But it's a great, if I didn't pay for the house, look what the owner's got. One worth £3,000 now instead of 1,100 or 250. And he goes, yeah. He says, but you haven't signed and you haven't put a deposit down. This person could back out now. And I thought, shit, that's all my money. And so then I never did it again. By this, I say in the book, by the skin of the teeth. It's by the skin of the teeth. That person could have, if that person had lived in Peterborough and walked in, they could have gone, well, I'm not selling it to you. So after that mistake, I always used to ask, can I go in and improve your property? And it was like, that's fine. Yeah. So you learn as you're going along, and
you know what, Neville? I think the reason I'm laughing so much is because we've got so many similarities. The caravan, we had a caravan as well, which also leaked, right? And I remember one morning, waking up to my dog's muffled cries because during the night it had turned really cold. The poor dog had froze to the wet carpet, and we had to kind of prise him off before we could go to work.
I tell you, you were rich. You could afford dog food. I would have ate it.
And then I remember when we first took our first unit for our business as well, we took the second unit, took the third unit, and just like you, we said to the landlord, can you leave us the keys, we can measure up. And in between him going away and him coming back, we knocked the wall down. But unbeknown to me, it was a support wall. I don't know building shit. I don't know what a support wall is, but anyway, we compromised the integrity of the entire building, which I thought was quite impressive. And you know what? That's what you do. That's what you do in business, is it not?
You do. Yeah. So that's how we went on, and by 1982, we'd accumulated because you when you buy a house and you renovate it and you sell it, you don't have to pay any tax on the profit, and then we put all the profit. We accumulated the profit. And it went into the business, and it was like we then by 1982 had got 3 or 4 houses which we was renting, but we wasn't getting any renting on them. They wasn't paying the rent, and we said, what are we doing? Because it come to one of those points where we said people are living in houses better than us, and they're not even bothering to pay the rent.
Yeah.
So why don't we sell them all and get something nice for ourselves? And there was a recession going on, and there was the biggest and best house in Lincolnshire, in Stamford. It was a beautiful house, and indoor swimming pool, and in those days you could buy an 8,000 square foot house for £225,000, and that was top of the market. That was, and that was like paying £5 million now for a house, and so therefore we hadn't got that money, but I did go and have a look at it because I wanted an indoor swimming pool at one time or another, and I'd seen it, and I walked in this beautiful house in this parkland setting, and the electric gate opened, and we went in our van, you know, and it was like, this is incredible. So I walked in the house with the agent, and it only got first fix. This house was like a new house, and it's first fix, and it was like, and then I saw a swimming pool, and I'm thinking, I'm not just come to look at the swimming pool to copy it. I've come to buy this house. This is our dream house. And one of the things was, a few years before, I'd been plastering, and I was full of plaster, and I got overalls on, and I happened to go by a builder. It was a really prestigious builder in Peterborough, was in those days, and I went into their reception, and the receptionist said, you know, like, what do you want? And I go, I want to know if you've got a plot of land that you could sell me, and then, because I want to build a house. She says, we've got nothing for you. Arrogant shit she was, the way she's spoken to me, it was awful, you know, and it's like, get out. And and there were some drawings on the wall, and I said, I want, and there was these arches, and it was like Spanish. It was really beautiful. And I said, that's the kind of house I want to build. If you could build a house like that for me, you know, that would be lovely. And she says, house? That's no house. She said, that's just an extension for a swimming pool, and that's £80,000. And remember, I was renovating houses worth £2,000 at the time, you know, and she was saying that's £80,000 for the extension with a swimming pool. And I go, I'm thinking, you bitch, you're talking to me like. Anyway, like 2 years later, I walked into this house, and the guy had gone bankrupt, and these people, they'd built it. And I thought, oh well, this is a tick in the box, isn't it, for up you? So there was no way on this earth that I was going to have that, but I hadn't got the 225,000. But I agreed with the guy that I would buy it for 180 because he wanted some favours doing as well. So I agree. Well, I didn't agree with him. I said I'd think about it. So the next week I rang the estate agent and said, can I speak to Mr. So-and-so, because I can do a deal with him now, because I'd got whatever he wanted for himself. And he said, oh no, it's gone into liquidation and the bank's got it. So I was going to pay him 180, and actually I got it for 143 from the bank. And they said 145, and I bloody argued. That's another lesson that I learned in 1982. I was so hot-headed and so forceful. No, and they said we'll put it in the Times one more week, and I risked that property for $2,000, and I insisted 140. Anyway, luckily on that day when they put it in the paper, the day before, the interest rates had gone up, and there was a recession, and nobody answered it, and they took 143. Never did I do that ever again. If you want something, pay a fair price, and don't try and screw people down to a point where they can't do it. So all the lessons I've learned. Anyway, I had that for 26 years, and in the recession of 2008, we had to sell that house because we was doing, I don't know, it was a £12.5 million build. I think we'd got 14 million outstanding. We was building the biggest nursery shop in the bloody world, it was, you know, and it was like, and I'd sold everything, remortgaged everything I could, I'd done whatever I could, and the only thing was left was Marilyn's house. All of a sudden it became Marilyn's house and not mine, because I wasn't going to make the decision of selling the house that we'd been in there for 26 years. And I said to Marilyn, there's only one thing, you know, if we want to save the business, and I don't know whether we can save it, but it was like, in my book, as a lot of people who've read it, they'll see a fruit machine. In those days, it was like I was putting £5,000 in the fruit machine every few minutes, pulling the lever, and I knew the jackpot was in there, but it weren't coming out. It wasn't. So I said to Marilyn, the only thing we've got left is your house to sell. And she looked at me with tears in her eyes and just walked away. And I thought, yes, okay, I'll put it on the market next week. I sold it straight away because we sold it at £500,000 cheaper than it was worth, because we needed the money. And what a fantastic thing. This guy came in and he says, I've admired this house for years and years and years. My wife wants this house. He says, but we've got to sell our own. And I'm thinking, shit, you know, will the bank hold out long enough? Will the money hold out long enough? You know, anyway, he rang the next day and he said, I've got some good news and bad news. I said, oh yeah, what's the bad news? He says, we want to move in on Friday. I said, that's not bad, that's good. I said, what's the good news? And he said, I put my house on the market, and the person who bought my other house a few years ago has sold his, and he needs to move out by Friday, and he wants to buy my house. So it was like, wow, we walked out of that house with our suitcases. That's it. We left everything. 26 years of good stuff, and I'll tell you what, yeah, it was really, really good. It was unbelievable, and we left it like it was a hotel. All the beds were made, the ornaments were there, everything, everything, and we walked out. We had to walk out with our suitcases because mentally there was no way I could even think of putting anything into storage. We was fighting fires every minute of every day, and I lived in the office of the new building. Lived in there for 2.5 years. I did. So
this is incredible.
Yeah. After we was. Oh, it's just like shit. It was that when the shit hits the fan, you've got to be prepared. You know, but it was a lot better than the caravan. But after all those years, from 1974 to 2008, things can go wrong, and it wasn't any about. Pardon?
Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, there's nothing we could do. We could have run away because we'd got £3 million in our personal pension, and we could have run away and left it like a lot of people did. But we've got then about 100 people working for us full time there, and when you say 100 people, you say 100 families.
Yeah, good point.
And it had been really loyal, and really good. And so we had this discussion of whether we run away with our £3 million or whether we stay. And that discussion took all of 5 seconds, because we knew that if we went bust, we could start again in a 10-foot caravan. And I could get a bit of scrim for 30, well, maybe a quid, I don't know. But I could do it. I could do it again. But how many people of those 100 could do it? Could look after themselves? And
Ashley's put a comment in there. What an incredible story. You never gave up. You bounced back. He's asking what kept you focused with all that going on.
Well, being in a team, because the thing is, everybody gets down. I know, right? Okay, so there's Marilyn. I wouldn't work unless I was working for her, right? But then there's Marilyn. She was working for me, basically. It's like we wanted the same things. We wanted the same goals. We had the same goals. We had the same ambitions. we loved what we was doing, and we loved working together. We've got Joe and Elaine, which was our children. They've been brought up in the business. They didn't want to do anything else but work in the business, and they were fantastic. You know, there was incredible children. They started at 10 years old working in the business. They left school at 13. They come straight into the business. You know, and in those days, when we used to educate them and had to do the school work, but nobody came ever to look to see if we was looking after them. But yeah, that's life. So there was my son-in-law, Scott. We was all working together. So there's 5 of us, and we used to have this. We used to have this thing saying when everybody got down, it was like, last one switch the light out, and they go, fuck the light. And it was like, but luckily not everybody. Are you right, Barry?
Yeah.
Thanks, mate. Cheers everybody, good health. So not everybody got down at the same time. And when you couldn't cope, because there is going to be mental problems, you know, depression and just things, you know, in general that gets on top of you, and the rules and regulations and the shit that hits the fan, and all the problems with people trying to keep your prices, you know, in line with everybody else's, even though it's not the law, but you know, it's against the law, but they're trying to do it. And so therefore, one person goes down in the way of, can you ring so-and-so and chase that man? I go, I can't. No, can you? And they go, yeah, I'll do it. Somebody steps in. So the thing is, you have a team of people, and if you see the birds flying, like geese or whatever, ducks flying, you have a look next time. You probably know this, but when they're flying in a V formation. Virtually all the time, because the leader is taking the wind, and it's deflecting, and the next one is deflecting, and so they can go faster, they can go further, and each one is deflecting the wind from the next one, and then there'll be some chaos in that bird flying fraternity, whatever it is called, and there'll be chaos, and one will come down, and there's always one leg longer than the other, because there's more birds on one side than there is on the other. And if you see this, then they'll change, and somebody else will take the lead, take the wind. And this was the same, you know, animals do it, and it's the same as us. You know, if I couldn't cope with something, somebody else. And it happens all the time. Oh, I can't speak to that person. You know, I can't. You know, I've had my fill. I've done what I can, and I can't do any more. And the next person takes over with new zest, new enthusiasm. You know, and different idea. And are you going, Nardine? You going?
Yeah.
Bye bye, Nardine. Is it time for bed? Yeah. Oh. Yeah. So, bye bye. You know, that helps. You've got to have this. You've got to have this team that's singing off the same hymn sheet. Yeah. You've got to enthuse people. You've got to teach them. You've got to tell them what you're doing, what you're thinking, how it's working, what the whole thing is. You know, how you want your customers to be served. And that's another thing. You know, you go into a shop. I went to a shop yesterday. Shit shop. It sells beds, and you know, it's a famous shop that sells, well, imagine you're dreaming. I can't remember the name of the shop. Anyway, I bought a mattress, right, a £2,000 mattress a few weeks ago, because and I said, can you keep it here? Yeah, no problem at all. And I saw a lovely bunk bed that got about 1 million screws in it, but I said, and it was the last. They said it's the last one. I said, well, can I come and pick that up? I said, will you give me a hand, you know, to undo it? And they go, yeah. So I phoned up yesterday. I said, right, I'm coming for that bed. Is there anybody to help me? And they go, no, you'll have to do it yourself, because we might have customers. I thought, well, what am I? If I'm not a fucking customer, and actually, I'm not a customer that might be, I'm a customer that's paid. You know, I am a real customer, not just one kicking tyres looking, you know, or bed frames or whatever. So I made it my job then to run up these 2 flights of stairs because it was good exercise for me. And Marilyn came with me, and I go, "Where's the Allen keys?" And I go, "Oh, don't know. I'll get my toolbox and see." Now, in our business, the instructions and the Allen keys were sellotaped to the bottom, so the person who bought the last one on the shop floor had no problem. They wouldn't take it to pieces, we would take it to pieces, but the Allen key would be there so our people didn't have to look for it. Time and motion. Time and motion in any business is vital, you know. And if you're going to work in a business for 8 hours, or do 8 hours, don't do 6 hours, don't go looking for bloody Allen key, you know, whatever. Sorry about my language sometimes. Anyway, I'll get enthusiastic. So, and I work on a building site as well. So, so the thing is, it's like we had 40 people in the office in the end. We had 125 full-time staff and 40 people in the office. Everybody would have their stapler, would have their calculator, would have everything on their desk. And it was like if somebody got up to go to get a ruler or whatever, or a calculator from another desk, they would say, "Why you get?" You know, if they go up to go and ask a question or to speak to somebody about some product or whatever, that's fine. But the person who's in charge would say, "Hey, if you have lost your whatever it was, I'll get you one from the cupboard." So it's like time and motion all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
absolutely. This has been great. I'm just conscious of the time here, but I tell you what a story this has been. I did not expect this, and somebody's put it there, you know, so passionately told that story. Absolutely brilliant. Before we wrap up, is anybody any questions they want to throw in Neville? Because this is just amazing.
I think you still got to get to the best bit, to be fair.
Oh.
The story's only half told.
the money. Yeah, so we sold 3 shops.
Gotta buy the bit to find out the rest.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
hey,
We're not doing it next week.
you're a born saleswoman. I like it. Yeah. Buy the book. By the way, all the money goes to charity. So that's the. You know, I don't need it, do I? But I wanted to get it across, and I am so passionate because there's so much in this book that people can learn, and there's so much in between the lines. And it does say in the first page, it says about a warning, this book contains reverse psychology, so look out for it. And there's a lot of reverse psychology in that book, you know, and there's a lot of things that's hidden in that book, but it's like hey, I wrote 1 million words to get 140,000 words right. It took me three and a half years to write that book, between 10 at night and 4 in the morning. It did, and so we built this business, and we went on and on and on. It got bigger and bigger and bigger. I kind of dropped the property maintenance, and we just did property investment. And we had people to build stuff. So that was one thing. And the business went up and up. And there was a crucial point in 2008, 2009, where we had to redo the business completely, about where we bought the stuff from and how we manufactured it ourselves and all that kind of stuff. So, but at the end of the day, a business is like having a racehorse. So you have a racehorse, you feed it, you take it out for exercise, and you look after that racehorse, and it goes into, and it wins a gold cup eventually, and you make a lot of money. And what happens? That horse is going out for a breeding, but eventually it will die, and every business will die. It will go round in circles. And if it doesn't die on you, it will die on the next generation. And usually the next generation says, "Fuck you, I'll sell it anyway because I'll make the money." So you might as well sell it yourself, unless you're a second generation, but that'll happen on the third. So therefore it goes round in circles, it does. And if you can time it, so it's about, when the clock is about 10 to 10 to 10 to 11, when there's loads and loads of potential for the next person to take it higher, and to do their stamp on it, then that's fine. So somebody was trying to buy our business for 5 years, and I kept saying, no, it's too exciting, I'm too enthusiastic, it's too good, and I want to achieve the next level. And we wanted to achieve, we were doing 40 million, we wanted to go up to 200, and we'd got everything set for it. And of course the recession had really hurt us mentally and physically and everything else. And when you go from 10 million to 20 to 30 to 40, you get different teams. So some people can cope with 15 people doing 500,000. And then when you say, well, you're going up to 1 million and you're going to have 20 people, they can't cope with it and they leave. Some of them leave, some of them stay. And the next up to 30 million, some of your team leave because they don't like change, or they can't stand the pressure, or whatever, they're not as enthusiastic, or they may want to retire, they may want to go and live abroad, they may want to get another wife or husband or whatever. So this what happens all the time, and we've come to a plateau where we've been beaten to a pulp. And in my book, I had a nervous breakdown when I was in court for nothing. It was dreadful. It was absolutely dreadful. Well, I can't explain it now because it takes too long. Anyway, so therefore, I've been through the mill, and somebody said, "How are you doing, Neville?" I said, "Yeah, fine." I wasn't very well at the time that day. I'd had enough, and they said, "How's the family?" Blah 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 blah, on and on and on. And then they said, "Don't forget, if you want to sell your business, I've got somebody to buy it." Been telling me for 5 years this, every 3 months, and I go, I can't stand this anymore. And how do you politely tell somebody to fuck off? So you say, "Yeah, I've got a business to sell," and I think, that's it. They'll never ring me again. I've got a business to sell, and they silence on the phone. And he says, "Are you serious?" I said, and then I thought, am I serious? Now Marilyn wouldn't make that decision because it'd be beyond her to make that decision, because it's so emotional with like 125 what is now friends in that business. Is that no? I make that decision because I don't want Marilyn. Bye Barry. No, not you, Barry. There's another Barry here. So anyway, I made that decision, and I thought he's going to go, and he didn't. He came back the next day with the paperwork, and we did the paperwork, and within 3 weeks we did our own due diligence. I spent £30,000 on due diligence on ourselves, so that any skeletons in the cupboard would come out, because I didn't really want to sell it. I wanted somebody to say, "Oh, it's a good business, but I don't want it." And so therefore I was like this, and we had 30 offers. Within 3 or 4 weeks we had 30 offers from the high street. Everybody was looking for acquisitions. Well, I'd looked for acquisitions a few weeks before that, before that phone call. I'd looked for acquisitions to see if there's something I could buy to make it go easy from 40 to 200 million. But there wasn't one nursery shop in the whole of the country that I could say, yeah, that's a good buy. Whatever price I'm going to pay, that's a good buy. There was all failing. There was, yeah. So therefore, we did the due diligence. We had the 30 people, and then we got rid of 11 because there was vulture. Is it called vultures? When they put money into you, venture capitalists. Yeah. Or should they be called vulture capitalists?
Vultures.
Yeah. So
Vulture capitalists. That's another story.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just conscious of the time.
All right. Cheers.
What a story there.
Nice to meet you.
Fantastic. So we'll wrap up at that unless anybody's got any other questions. But I tell you what, I'm going to go on to Amazon and chase this book up myself and Neil, because what an amazing story. What an absolute brilliant story.
Can I ask you a couple of questions then?
You can.
Yeah.
And if you don't get one, I'll send one to you.
So, I'm quite a slow reader, so I generally do all my books on Audible. And I think your book is probably the quickest book I've listened to since I started on Audible. Just was a story that I find so inspirational and just a lot of similar things in my journey so far. So it was a very quick listen for me.
Fantastic.
Great. But I do wonder, when you got to the point when you let Kiddicare go, at that point, you obviously then went on to have a successful property investment and all that, which I guess probably another hour story to.
Yeah. We sold that one.
Come back.
Give it away! I've just bought it.
It's a long story. But I guess what I'm asking is, at what point, or did you ever regret leaving the kind of retail hustle and bustle and going to the kind of less hands-on or less public-facing investment side? Because you were obviously very much hands-on in the Kiddicare thing.
I loved it. It was my life. I loved it. I loved having my door open and people could come in one after another and have a cup of tea, coffee, whatever, and solve any problems. I loved it. I just loved the buzz and the atmosphere of the shows, everything about it, and loved to push the boundaries, push those boundaries all the time. So I hated that bit, but I knew it had got to go, and I knew we'd got to go, and it took I don't know, 400 days to get over it, and it took years. It did take years to get over it. I'm glad I'm not in retail now, but I went past a place when I collected my beds the other day and did the exercise up and down because people didn't want to help me.
I can't believe you still bought that things after them not helping you.
I paid them 6 weeks ago. I paid them anyway. So therefore, there's a massive. I don't know whether it was a Curry's or something that is empty. And I said to Marilyn, that would make a fantastic Kiddicare. And she said it would, wouldn't it? She said, yeah. Do we want to do it? Hearts and minds said, yes, but we know it's like for a young person who can do 15 hours a day, young people with enthusiasm, they want a life, they want a challenge, they want to be, it's somebody's life. And the nursery business is so nice. And when we started up in the nursery business, there's about 8 people in Peterborough. And then you've got your Toys R Us, you've got your John Lewis, you've got your Mother Cares, and all that kind of stuff, and your independence. And there's nobody now. And it's like incredible. And what do you want? When you buy a pram, you want to push it, you want to feel it, you want to try it in your car, And it was like, I was the first car seat fitter, and I used to fit the car seats in the bus stop and lay underneath and drill the holes in and things like that in the early days. And we ended up in 2011. I was doing 1,000 car seats a week. I had 6 fitters. We'd do 1,000 push chairs. We're doing 1,000 prams, 1,000 cots, and it goes on. Thousands and thousands of products we were doing.
Guys, I need to just pop away for 5 or 10 minutes. I'll leave you to chat amongst yourself.
Go on then.
Right.
Neville, I've got a question for you. Thanks ever so much for giving up your time tonight.
Ashley.
I come from Cornwall, so it's great to see you drinking the local ale.
My favourite.
You're a workaholic, man, and so what I'm thinking now is you're at a ripe old age now, but you don't look your age. But what gets you out of bed in the morning then? Because when you had your businesses and stuff like that, you were diving out of bed to go and do stuff. What gets you out of bed today, mate? Right.
Okay. So we've got about 8 businesses at the moment. We've got a marina. We've got 150 industrial tenants. We're building about £90 million worth of new sheds, which is when I say shed, Amazon type units, right, from small ones to big. Right, not from small ones, from one-man band kind of stuff to people who have gone not the 2nd or 3rd or 4th tier. They're in business. So all levels from, shall we say, 1,000 square foot, which is unusual, but maybe 2,000 square foot up to 100,000 square foot. So we're building those. So we've got about £90 million worth that we're doing at the moment, asset retail, and I've got partners, and which is nice. So we can build businesses, and we can sell those businesses if we want. And what gets me out of bed? Well, the trouble is, this goes to your belly, and I look I look in the mirror. And I stand on the weighing scales, and I've got this bloody tape measure, and I fail every day. So I've got a gym upstairs at top of my garage, which is through here, and so therefore I need to get up, and you know, I want to look good, you know, and I want to enthuse people, you know. At 50, when life was kind of all right, 50, 2000, when I could go abroad, and locked down now, obviously, I mean, I'm a prisoner now, but I was used to going abroad every 3 or 4 weeks to all over the place, and of course you start to eat and drink, you know, in nice restaurants and whatever, and you put too much on. Well, who's that Little Britain? The only gay in the village. What was it? Matt. Is his name Matt?
Matt Lucas.
Who?
Matt Lucas.
Matt Lucas. Well, you see, when I was 50, I if he was ill, I could have took his spot. I could have. Yeah, quite easy. Yeah, and then my wife, bless her, she's lovely, but you see, this is reverse psychology with her as well. My idea of weight control was buy a bigger pair of trousers. Right. So I got to, and one day I think I've just done the blog about this. If you go onto NevilleWright.com, you'll probably find a blog page where I think I might have talked about this the last couple of days. Anyway, she bought me a pair of elasticated trousers that would last me for years. In other words, they were fucking huge, there was, you know. And it's like, and then to top it, you know, I thought it's very kind of you, but, you know, I won't pull any birds in these trousers, you know. And not as I want to, but, you know, you want to look in the mirror and think you can. But the thing is, she bought me some slip-on shoes because I couldn't bend down to do the bloody shoelaces up. And then to add insult to injury, she got me a 2-foot shoe on, and that was a turning point. You know, there's only so much you can take. There is, before you go, no, this is you know. And so to answer your question, what gets you up in the morning? Well, I like some wine and beer. And so I've got to do some exercise, and the other thing is I've got some places where I look at 6 o'clock in the morning to see who's illegally parking, because I have some parking wardens that go around slapping tickets on, you know, and they give them so many opportunities not to have a ticket. I have a tickets making like 24-hour notice. If you don't belong here, if you're trespassing, please don't park. You know, because you'll get a ticket, and they still ignore it, so they have to get a ticket, you know. So I go back on the, yeah, and it's only because, you know, I need to get up. Well, I never have an alarm clock because I have an opportunity clock. Opportunity clock is in my head, you know, and it's yeah. So I'm trying to do 100 exercises, 100 days for 100 years. Anyway, so I don't know, you know, what makes you. You know what? And I looked at somebody today, and he's 84, and he's chairman of the board somewhere. And I got a letter this afternoon saying that I'm a director of a company. I don't even fucking know. I go, I've just become a director of this company. Yeah. And Marilyn's looking and go, yeah, we're doing £30 million worth of work in that company. And I go, okay, yeah. So it's like, yeah, it keeps you going. And I
So
want
you're not
to.
going to retire anytime soon then, I think.
Pardon?
You're not going to retire anytime soon.
Well, I retired. Now, this is another thing. I'm just on a blog, and it's just going on tonight. Barry, is that blog going on tonight? I sent you it. Anyway, there's a blog. It'll probably go on tonight. If you look at nevillewright.com, you'll probably see it. And it's a blog about retirement. Now, you see, every day, and this is something that today somebody asked, so that's why I've done a blog about it. I can't wait to retire. This is what they told me. I said, so you must be a miserable fucker, you know, doing whatever you're doing. They go, I hate it. I hate my job. I go, well, you should retire. I retired at 24. And the blog explains, you know, what retirement is. So, yeah, so I am retired. I retired at 24 when I was penniless, because it's all in the mind, and the government want to brainwash you into working 40 years and then make you think that you've had it, you're useless, and you go and retire, and then you die, you know. And it's like, that's another thing why I'm not retired. Well, I am retired, but I'm not retired. But somebody said, never go to your grave with your songs left in you. So have you taught everybody you can what you've learned? And this is the thing. I've learned a lot, and which I think I've probably expressed a few things tonight of points, snippets that I've learned through my life. And if that can help anybody, and people, you know, write these things down and go, yeah, I'm going to avoid that, or I'm going, you know, I've done it, but I understand. So never go to your grave with your songs left in you. Sing them all, then drop down dead.
Neville, thank you so much. You've been absolutely delightful this evening. I've got to go because I'm running an open mic in a minute over Zoom, so I've got some songs to do later. But
Lovely, I like that. Where can I listen? Where can I listen to your songs?
Do you want to come in? Do you want to come into the open mic?
I just want to kind of be a what do they call them, a voyeur? Yes, somebody who just looks.
I just put my Facebook page on the
Okay.
on there for you.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Lovely.
And if you connect with me on LinkedIn, I can send you all kinds of stuff.
Ashley.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ashley. No, we'll read it.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely brilliant. And this is what a story. Have you gone? No.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, very well. I tell you, Neville, of all the guests, we thought Gerald Bratton's story was one to beat, but you've done it.
I was on stage last week with Gerald.
Yeah. Fantastic story.
Yeah, fantastic bloke. Lovely.
Absolutely brilliant. Thanks very much for joining us. And
You're welcome.
Thanks, as always, for coming along. What a fantastic story. Thanks, Neville.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks, bye.
Good
Cheers.
to see you. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Thank you. Make sure you buy his book, guys.
Absolutely. Buy the book. See ya.
Cheers.